Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Hi, it's time for joy with Dr. Scott and Joyce Keller. So it's our great honor to be back with you during these very challenging times. No, it's actually very exciting. And when all is said and done, the dust all settles and we see what we're dealing with, the outcome is going to be much better. The energy on the planet is going to be much, much better. It's going to be a higher vibration for all of us. So believe it or not, this nasty virus is serving a purpose. It's raising our consciousness because it's making us look at ourselves very honestly and to see who we really are, what we really want out of life, and to get rid of things that do not belong in our life anymore. We're going into a much higher frequency on the earth. Everything is quieting down. Did you notice how quiet things are? Okay, let me tell you, I'm Joyce Keller. My website is joycekeller.com. I do a radio show with my daughter on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, Joyce Keller, and that's on Speak Project, and she's Lane Keller. And we do a lot of shows on there, and we discuss whatever is happening on the planet, whatever is channeled at that time. That's a very good place for you to go. And I have another wonderful child, my son, Dr. Scott, who's on with me right now. Hi, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm listening to what you're saying about things getting better. Yes, they are getting better, but we got some really, really powerful oppositional stuff in the skies going on right now. So I was hoping we can talk a little bit about that. How are you doing today? Are you managing okay?
Couldn't be better. Thank you for asking, Scott. I wanted to say that this is really important. A lot of people are talking about the state of fear, F-E-A-R, that justifiably is occurring on the planet. If you look over the mask and you see people's eyes, I went to TJ Maxx yesterday, of course, with my mask on, or they wouldn't let me in, and people are terrified, even the greeters at the door. Wherever you go, people are in a state of panic because they don't know what's coming next. That's going to hold back the energy on the planet. We have to be
right.
Right. So I wanted to say F-E-A-R, fear is the opposite of love. Believe it or not, peering R for real, false evidence appearing real versus love for one another. Remember the words of Jesus. The last thing he said was love one another, and that's really the message that we need to know at this time. I'm sorry, Dr. Scott, what were you starting to say?
Well, you know what? It's our ongoing mission, and I love what you said about fear. I cannot begin to tell you the amount of confusion and fear that's going on right now. You know, we work here at our center here in Fort Lauderdale, where we do astrological and medical intuitive readings, and I do, continued psychological counseling for many of our clients after their initial readings. And, the ongoing theme right now is one of confusion, which definitely breeds fear. And, in our ongoing mission, speaking of which, it is, again, to use the information that the Vedics have left us through astrology and how it manifests in our bodies and our lives through Ayurveda. And one of the things I wanted to mention in regard to your fear comment was that, that in Ayurvedic medicine, the middle category of people's health, people's body and mind is the Vata energy. When that Vata energy is out of balance, we see a tremendous amount of confusion, which leads to fear. And so there are ways to mitigate and lessen a lot of this fear just by using a couple of simple Vedic tricks. Certain lifestyle changes, change the colors you wear, the music you listen to, most importantly, the foods we eat, can mitigate a lot of that very difficult fear-based Vata energy. We see Vata energy go up. Remember, there are three types of energy in Ayurveda. There's Pitta, which is the aggressive, very determined type, personality and body. Kapha, on the opposite extreme, which is the slow, more methodical, reliable, loving, larger-bodied person. And then the middle one, which is Vata. Those are the people that have a lot of the fierce energy. They typically have a very thin body. These are typically the women you see at yoga classes with dreadlocks and tiny little bodies and haven't eaten meat in 20 years and live on quinoa. But when those energies in the Vata person, and we all have Vata energy, When they're out of balance, we experience a tremendous amount of fear. Now, what do we do about this? Well, Mom, is it okay to dive right into what's going on in the solar system and as far as what's going on astrologically?
Absolutely, because it's your show, too. I wanted to say, for the folks who are just tuning in, I'm Joyce Keller.com, and we have the lovely Dr. Scott Keller with us. Dr. Scott, even when you were a baby, I called you Dr. Scott. So, I mean, you're stuck with that. But please tell us the best website so folks will know exactly how to reach you. Give that before we forget, please.
Okay. Great, thank you. So to get your astrological and Ayurvedic and medical intuitive reading, all you have to do is call our office. That phone number is 631-375-8702, 631-375-8702, or you can go on to my website. It is www.ask, like ask a question, ask-drscott.com. That's ask-drscott.com. And also, my other medical healing website is just Dr. Scott Keller. So to move right along, because I know we have a limited amount of time and people are calling in already and we want to get to everybody, feel free to contact that number or that website. We will give you an hour-and-a-half reading, a full healing package, and we'll discuss everything regarding your health, regarding your karmic and career path and direction. Everybody needs it right now. It's going crazy out there. Most of my clients are really experiencing like this fear that you talked about. And one of the things that we can do, well, let's first discuss why it's happening. 2 years we've been experiencing this shift of Saturn, which is the planet of lessons and correction, and in Capricorn. But right now, this week, and as of today, I think we're entering the sun sign of Leo, which will help mitigate it a little bit. But
give today's date, Scott, please, if you don't mind. Tell folks what today's date is. So, because this is great. This is going to be playing over and over again. So people need to know that today is actually July 22nd, 2020.
Right.
And, yes, okay, so please continue.
Right. So without getting too worked up about the exact, hourly time that this is going to occur, we now have a new moon in Cancer, which is wonderful. By itself, it's fantastic. We had a new moon, a full moon with solar eclipse last month in Cancer. That was creating some new opportunities. But right now, this new moon, which any new moon creates new opportunities, in Cancer, let me just pull up my notes here, will lead us to having greater growth and greater new projects. And in regard to things regarding the home or things revolving around work, because Cancer is really the home. It's the reproductive element. It's the maternal sign. So we're going to have great opportunities. People could be getting pregnant right now. People could be developing new, additions to their home. But also, when people consider their work cohort, their family, we see a lot of connection to new work projects. The problem is, right now, it is opposing Saturn, the planet of lessons. So we're seeing a little bit of frustration with this new moon. This configuration is simultaneously allowing us at the same time learning very harsh lessons. Now, what this actually means is that we'll actually be undertaking new projects, but we're going to do it differently. And the way I'd like to put a positive spin on this, instead of all this confusion, is saying, well, with the corrective elements of Saturn, maybe we can start new projects with a greater sense of maturity and a greater understanding of our own personal corrections, as well as the collective good, as the collective corrections. We're in the process of making a collective correction right now with this pandemic. But people come into my office all the time asking, well, what do I do individually about it? Well, let's look at your own individual Saturn placement. Let's look at your own North Node placement. You wrote, a bestseller talking about the importance of the North Node called Why Are We Here? Because that's important to understand the essence of why we're here karmically, and we can neutralize, because we're a participant in the whole, and we can neutralize a lot of what's going on with the challenges with the whole if we address ourselves individually. How do we do that? Well, we're looking at the new moon in Saturn, which is getting corrections happening simultaneously. I asked, some of my clients are coming in lately a little bit desperate for information about how to handle this ongoing battle between the head and the heart. People are kind of crumbling around us, but I look at this in a very favorable way. Why? Because we're going to go forward with a graduation here, and we're going to let go of some of the old misuses of energy. So That's the big thing, and I think that when we welcome people to call in and look at their individual charts, we try to understand where their individual Saturn placements are. We become the best, and we can be the better version of ourselves and navigate ourselves through these challenging times. It's just what this configuration is asking of us, and many of us are doing it, and that's when you start referring to movements of the third dimensional people into the fifth, which I happen to love.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, let me give you the number here. It's 516-666-8448. We have calls holding, but I know that you're not ready to take calls yet. I wanted you to say the purpose, from my viewpoint, about the virus. And by the way, I did talk about it a year and 2 years ago, and I was mostly on Facebook talking about it with people who said, well, why didn't you tell us? I did. Okay, the basic purpose is that as we move as a collective consciousness or as a group of people from one dimension to another, to a higher frequency, okay, we are going to be unlocking our higher telepathic mind. We're becoming more telepathic. We're becoming less physical. We're not admired in physicality as we have been for eons of time. So the frequency of the earth is being raised. It's increasing. Okay, let's see. So, Dr. Scott, did you wish to take the call? I'm not sure who's on. Let's see who's here.
Yeah,
I know that.
I want to take the call, but I want to talk about something you just mentioned really quickly. One quick sentence. What you just mentioned about moving into the fifth dimension. The whole purpose behind understanding Vedic philosophy is the ancients left us with a great deal of information about how we left a perfect existence at the Godhead, and we moved down and we gradually coalesced ourselves into deeper and more dense forms of matter. But now we're on the upswing, which happened probably about 2,000 years ago. We stopped descending and started ascending. Now we're about, based on the karmic and Vedic Yuga timelines, we're on our way up. Some people are moving faster than others, but we're operating as an average of the whole. So I definitely think that not only the pandemic, but just about any challenge that comes on socially is designed for us to accomplish that mission. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, that was well said. And I noticed you didn't breathe the whole time, but that's okay. Let's see who's here.
We got a short show. Ma.
I know. Let's see who's at 216. Let's see. Hello.
Hi.
You are?
Hello? Who's this?
Wait, I'm trying to get to the speaker. Okay, sorry about that.
Hi, my name is Sharon. Would you like, how are you, first of all, both of you today?
Couldn't be better, Sharon. Sharon, darling, what's your birthday?
I know, September 1st, 1965, and I at 11:33 p.m.
Okay.
Where were you
Very
born,
good,
Sharon? What
Livonia,
city were you born in?
Livonia, Michigan.
I'm sorry, say it again, please.
Livonia, Livonia, Michigan.
Okay. That sounds like a really good place. It's like someplace I'd like to be right now. Sharon, how may we help you today in the very brief time we have?
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Started a new job back 4 months ago. I didn't think I was going to get the job. They gave it to me, so I've been working at home. They gave it to me to work at home. So I love it, and my boss put in for me to be permanent and to extend my contract, but it's a huge company. It's got to get approved from the upstairs. Do you see me working there for a long time? Do you see me, is this job going to work out? Am I going to stay there? I really like it.
Okay, I'm going to jump in before Dr. Scott. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Scott. I see you're hot and ready to go. Go ahead.
Does that make sense, Dr. Scott?
It absolutely does. And I'm going to try to do this very quickly because we have a number of calls, but I want to share something with you, Sharon. You have something that's near and dear to my heart, which is your North Node, which we just talked about in Gemini.
In Gemini!
Yeah, which we love because that means, Sharon, yours and my mission together is about teaching and about sharing information. It can be a little bit about technology, but it's really about communication. And one of the things that I found is absolutely integral with making decisions for our career path and our life path is to stay true to the North Node. Mom wrote a bestseller about the North Node, which means if you stay true to that, you reap abundance. The best part, you ready? Sharon, your planet of abundance, Jupiter, is in 27 degrees of Gemini. So you can never go wrong as far as You're so lucky to have your planet of abundance and your North Node in the same sign, because that means whatever you choose, you'll get abundance as long as you stay true to your Gemini mission, which is teaching.
It's in there now, or is it
in
there now or all the time? Is it in there now or all the time?
But all the time, for your whole life. But right now, know the patterns we're in. We're being asked right now to start projects, but not be discouraged when the opposition comes by, because we have two opposing factors. What do? Well, stay true to your mission, and keep in mind that there's speed bumps right now, and not to be discouraged, but to receive your lesson. Real quickly, you want your lesson? Saturn is in 14 degrees of Pisces. This is very, very accurate. I have Saturn in Pisces also. Time for us to let go of our old connections to emotional past issues and past people. You want to do something to make yourself productive? Let go of that old crap, because that's keeping us back. If I heard my mom say this once, I heard her say it a million times. She's like, tap into your Gemini energy and let go of all those people from your past. She was right.
Thank you,
That's
Sharon.
interesting.
Okay, I think we lost Sharon. All right, that was excellent, Dr. Scott. Thank you. I'm sorry we lost Sharon, but our engineer cut us off. Okay, let us take a call. Hopefully this is Reverend Kevin. We'll see who's here. Hello.
Hi there, it's Reverend Kevin.
Hey,
Kevin,
good to hear your voice, Dr. Scott and Miss Joyce. Great to hear you guys.
I wish we had more time.
Doing wonderful, just pivoting and doing good things. But you guys are doing an awesome job today. And Miss Joyce, you were speaking on the opposite of love is fear, and I'm like, yes, other people get it. That's true, and it really is true. It's exactly right. It's the opposite of love. And, with all the challenges we're going through around the world, in our country, and our communities, if we don't remember that we're a part of the equation, and we don't begin to refuel ourselves and become self-aware that, we are a part of the process, we don't have to be pulled into the fear of the challenges we're dealing with, but we can be aware of them and be mindful and just begin to make efforts to refuel ourselves, regularly.
Hey, Kev, let me
tell people how to reach you before we forget.
Oh, absolutely. So everybody can, my name is Reverend Kevin Lee, and I'm a speaker, author, a coach, a spiritual medium. I'm here in South Florida, and I do different shows live and radio like this. But you can definitely go to revkevinlee.com. That's the easiest way to find me. And that URL is it's spread out across Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So you can find me on all of those platforms, Rev Kevin Lee. And we just have some fun. We do meditations, I do teachings, I do live reading shows, a lot of good stuff.
Hey, Kev, let me ask you something. How are things going at the Metaphysical Center with all the pandemic happening and us being here?
Very
challenging.
Well, very challenging, because I think a lot of people are unfortunately lost in fear. What I see is I don't see my community members, even in South Florida, I don't see them connecting with the things that I am doing as much as they were. And I think that they are a bit overwhelmed because they're just not connecting either through text or through social media platforms. And I think they're just offline and dealing with life. And I really feel for them. And I think, a lot of our businesses are beginning to close locally, small churches, small centers, small businesses. We're seeing a lot of closed signs, permanently closed signs in businesses, even downtown Fort Lauderdale. It's really taking a toll on our community. So I think it's affected all of us pretty roughly.
Absolutely. Okay. And, Kev, we're close by. I'm right over here at Bridges, just down the road from you.
Wonderful.
Ironically, I have to tell you, I've seen the very same thing, but the irony here is that I've been busier than ever because people are in such a state of need, and we're going back to what Mom said earlier about trying somehow to make people aware that this false experience appearing real, this concept of fear, is just a made-up illusion designed to give us an opportunity to get back to God. Believe it or not, I feel we can mitigate a lot of this if we mitigate the fear that's accompanying this whole thing.
And that's true. And And what you all said was true. You said that, with the state of this challenge and the state of fear, it reminds us to get back to God. Well, I've heard many times from Spirit, and Spirit has said the reason you think God allows tragedy in your world to happen, that it's a bad thing, but it's actually a spiritual lesson for you and your planet and your people to learn from. And the souls that make the transition through the exit of the tragedy, say 9/11 or the Holocaust or massacres, or even small things, these are opportunities for the soul to experience that exit point, the way they exit, and also the people that ripple out in the family, the friends, the community. And so when 9/11 happened, this country became galvanized in a way we hadn't seen since the world wars. People prayed, made donations, they volunteered, they traveled across the country to help other people they didn't even know. And that's the power of challenges in dark times. There's always a silver lining, because the divinity of life itself, God, whatever you call that source, it's always present. It's always there. It's a learning lesson. So these things, we can't fall into fear, or we just assume it's a big bad thing, when actually it's a very divine thing for us to learn from and grow from.
It's so interesting. In Vedic philosophy and in Hinduism, I'm sorry, last thing, I just wanted to jump in on you real quickly. In Hinduism, we teach that the way to really neutralize and nullify any questionable energy is to be thankful for it. We teach metaphysics meets modern medicine type of lecture, which talks about that we're just energy sparks, and you can look at an energy spark as being attracted to a positive charge or a negative charge. You can do anything you want with that energy. And the Vedics say very simply, if something feels challenging, we have to do the hardest thing in the world, which is to say thank you for this opportunity, which is an extension of what you just said, Kev.
That's a beautiful way of saying it.
We nullify the detrimental, deleterious effects of it.
Beautiful. Wow, I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that with my students.
Good for you. That's a question. Okay, this is a question for both of you. I understand, Reverend Kev, that you are starting to do materialization work. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, you're doing what Scott experienced when he was about 7 or 8 years old. I think to this day he probably has not forgiven me, but we took him to seances where they had materialization created. And
she's right, I have not forgiven her for this.
Yeah,
wow.
Right, I haven't.
Now, Dr. Keller and Reverend Kev, you're starting to do that now. And you are actually doing materialization of spirit on material, or what's going on? What are you actually doing?
Well, it's really doing really well. I've been lecturing and presenting a lot of research into this very strange phenomenon called precipitation mediumship, where spirit actually, and they've been doing it for thousands of years. I've found evidence of it in biblical texts and scripture, which is really crazy to say that, but I have. And so what I found is, in my life, is that I've witnessed spirit producing images and writings onto a canvas, which it could be different things, cloth or postcard or something like that, dematerialized color from one location, and usually it's a source of, I use different types of colors like crayons, pens, markers, things like that, and they'll dematerialize it, and through their thought intelligence, they rematerialize it in an intelligent way, in a new form, and they will make faces of your loved ones, or faces. I've even seen a woman's dog, and she pulled a picture out of her purse. It was the same dog reproduced by spirit onto a card. It was the most uncanny thing, but I've seen amazing. I mean, how healing is that for someone who's lost a child or a dog or a loved one, to actually see their loved one's name written? My brother, who was accidentally shot by my other brother many, many years ago in a gun accident, and they're both children when it happened. And my brother, who passed away, I hadn't heard from him in literally 30 years. And I spoke about him to a group of ministers in a church. A few hours later, went to a seance. My brother I spoke about signed his name on a card that nobody in this experience even was witness to hear about. And it touched my heart in a very healing and profound way. And that's why I teach this. And my students are actually demonstrating it. The very first time they sit, they're getting different types of precipitation, this color that begins to appear in smudges and dots and lines, and eventually it takes on shape and form and intelligence. It's really amazing.
That's amazing. Well, that's amazing.
Go ahead.
I know my mom is chomping at the bit to talk about an experience that we had.
What happened to little Scotty?
Well,
what happened
not
to little
just that.
Scotty? Go ahead, Scott.
We made a lot of trips back. No, go ahead and you tell them about Silver Bell.
I
That's
wanted
one of your
to say
favorite
that
stories.
long before your singing and guitar career actually took off, we were at one of these silk precipitation services, and Elvis Presley came on to Scott's silk material. He manifested a whole.
Wow.
I don't know if there was a guitar
Beautiful.
with it, but Elvis Presley presented himself. He said, "I'm working with you, Scott." So then Scott, as you know, to this day has been a magnificent, probably the world's only guitar singing chiropractic metaphysical healer. I don't know.
I love it, probably. I love it.
So, but he was a little unhinged at that time, but I wanted him to experience it, and I know he thinks it's fun. Right, Scott?
No, but
I love that.
It was an incredible experience. But one of the things that was really kind of shook you down to the core was at this camp called Silver Bell, where we did the silk precipitation. They also had another class where we had apport manifestations. That was chilling because you would be in a dark room and everybody would be receiving an apport, which was materialized from spirit. And sometimes you get little statues related to your Indian guides, or sometimes you would get little figurines that were related to something significant in your life. And it was an intense experience. But I'm enamored with this. I'd like to get involved with your precipitation class. Are you doing it at the Metaphysical?
Absolutely. No, I just do it virtually now. So I just offer it as a public, what I call a virtual circle, and we all sit in our homes for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I do a tiny bit of teaching, and then we actually sit and meditate and we have our little baskets or boxes with all the coloring instruments and a little canvas, a type of canvas like a postcard stock, and multiple of my students are getting the baby steps of precipitation development. And it's interesting. We probably have up to 20 students every week, and it's because I'm not connected with a lot of organizations around the world, but the few that I are that know about this phenomena. But what I'll tell you is what's interesting is with this phenomena that spirit can actually take pigment from clothing or flowers. And literally reproduce it onto walls and things, onto canvas.
Oh, yeah. We've experienced it.
I just wanted to jump right in because we only have 2 minutes left. But they tell you before you go into any kind of precipitation class or session not to wear good clothing. So Scott was wearing a little green T-shirt. And when we came out, he had this magnificent silk precipitation. And I noticed he was wearing a chain with a cross on it. And in exactly the line of where the cross and the chain were, the color had been taken out, and it's missed. The color was missing completely from his shirt because spirit needed that color. That's
fascinating. Amazing. I love it. And what's amazing is Ethel, the minister and medium of that camp, Ethel Post Parish, and her guide Silver Bell, they followed me for years. Where I go, mediums tell me that she's around me, and she even guided me to her estate being resold in Florida a few years ago. So I own a lot of her possessions.
I work with
crazy.
Ethel also, and so does Scott. I mean, she's there for us.
I love it. No wonder we're all connected.
Yeah, Kevin, we knew that the first day we spoke. We had deep connections with the Edgar Cayce Foundation. Kevin and I had a very synchronized discussion about a year ago, and I've actually appeared a few times at his center in Fort Lauderdale.
Amazing.
Where we did some psychic readings and reading days.
That
was really amazing. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, Kevin, thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for being with us today, because I think we're
You
winding
are
down.
so welcome.
We love you, Dr.
welcome. Love you both.
I wanted to say, Dr. Scott, please tell us about your ARE work in the half a minute that we have left.
You know what? I've been at the Edgar Cayce Foundation. He was the modern-day Nostradamus. Did 22,000 readings, health readings for people around the world during the 20s to the 50s. help people with seemingly incurable disorders. I've been had the good fortune of being the first chiropractor and natural medicine doctor to work at an ARE, which stands for Association of Research and Enlightenment, around the world. So we're continuing that same work here in Fort Lauderdale at our center. And we welcome people to call. You can call the office, 631-758702. If Sharon's still listening, there's some interesting things I want to talk to you, Sharon, about your chart. Give a call, 631.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. We're out, and God bless us all. Thank you. Joyce.